Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. First of all, let me thank you all for joining Zoom meeting today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Santika Aprylia, finally name 07211433038 from the Faculty of Social Science and Political Science, Sociology Study Program, Airlangga University. What I would like to present to you today is social mobility. What is social mobility? Anyone know? Yeah, social mobility is the movement from one social class to another social class. And social mobility can be an increase or decrease in terms of social status. Can anyone give an example? Haha, okay. I have two examples for social mobility. The first example, Mr. Adi was appointed as manager. The second example, Mr. Bambang works in a factory because he has been laid off. No, Mr. Bambang is a taxi driver. Because social mobility can be an increase or decrease in terms of social status, Mr. Adi experiences an increase in social status, while Mr. Bambang experiences a decline in social status. Types of social mobility. There are two types of social mobility. The first, vertical social mobility. The second, horizontal social mobility. Vertical social mobility is the movement of individuals from social position to social position that are not equal. Horizontal social mobility is movement of individuals from one social group to another of the same social group. Can anyone give one example for vertical social mobility and horizontal social mobility? No one wants to answer? Okay. An example of vertical social mobility is Leah served as deputy director and then rose to the position of director. While an example of horizontal social mobility, Mr. Titik is the principal of 26 junior high school, the moved to become the principal of one junior high school. Two types of vertical social mobility. As explained in the previous slides, vertical social mobility is the movement of individuals from social position to social position that are not equal. There are two types of vertical social mobility. The first, social climbing. The second, social sinking. Anyone know the difference between the two types? Yeah, social climbing is movement of individuals from low social class to high social class. Social sinking is movement of individuals from a certain social class to a lower social class. The picture of the PowerPoint slide show the type of climbing social mobility or sinking social mobility. Yeah, the picture show is social climbing. To better understand the explanation from the previous slide, let me make an example of climbing social mobility. The first example, a teacher at a high school was appointed headmaster. Why does the teacher experiences climbing social mobility? Anyone know why? Yeah, because the teacher experiences an increase in social status from teacher to principal. The second example is Miss Ita is a teacher, but her daughter is a lecturer. The picture on the PowerPoint slide shows the type of climbing social mobility or sinking social mobility. Yeah, the picture shows sinking social mobility. Let's make an example of sinking social mobility. The first example, a tobacco farmer fell into poverty because his commodity did not sell in the market. The second, Mr. Doddy was fired for violating the works contract. Why are the two examples above including sinking social mobility? The reason for the first example is because the commodity does not sell in the market. Farmers who initially have income have to no income. The reason why the second example sinking social mobility is that Mr. Doddy who originally had a job due to breaking the contract become employed. Horizontal social mobility. Horizontal social mobility is the movement of individuals from one social group to another of the same social group. Horizontal social mobility occurs involuntarily and voluntarily. The first, involuntarily. An example of social mobility occurs involuntarily is a farmer was forced to move to another job because the land in his village was experiencing drought. Why does the first example including involuntarily horizontal mobility? Yeah, because there was a drought and there was no land in the village that could be worked on. The second, voluntarily. Example of social mobility occurs voluntarily is Nina moved to work as a bank clerk because she was tired of being an office employee. Why does the second example including voluntary horizontal mobility? Yeah, because Nina moved of her own volition. Intergenerational mobility and intragenerational mobility. Intergenerational mobility. According to Brin, 2004, intergenerational mobility examines the relationship between people's current circumstances and those in which they originate. From based on the picture, his grandfather is a school clerk. His father is a teacher, while he is a minister of state. From this picture we can conclude that social mobility has increased from one generation to another generation. Another example, the first example, Miss Nanik is a teacher, while her son is a businessman. The second example, Mr. Jody is a banker, his daughter is a cashier. Intragenerational mobility. According to Brink 2004, intergenerational mobility looks at the change in circumstances during an individual's own working life. Example based on pictures. Intergenerational mobility, the extent to which someone can change their level both up or down during their lifetime. The green woman initially become a driver, then switches job to become a textile entrepreneur. Green woman experiences good intragenerational mobility due to change in social class. 2 weeks ago, the orange woman decided to move from being a Indo-April to Beta March cashier. The orange woman has bad intrageneration mobility because she hasn't experienced a change in social mobility. Another example intergenerational mobility. The first, Helmi, initially served as a supervisor, then rose to become a manager. The second example, Tuki, works as a lecturer. For some reason, he moved to become a teacher. How to do social mobility? 4 ways to be able to do social mobility. The first, change in living standards. Change in living standards can occur when there is an increase in income. For example, an employee can be promoted to manager so that income increases and cause change in lifestyle standard. The second, marriage. We can take an example when woman from a teacher's family married a man from a business family. From this marriage, a woman experiences an increase in social status from a teacher's family to business family. The third, behavior change. In order to have a convincing appearance and be considered as someone from the upper class, he puts on a nice outfit. The last, change of residence. To improve social status, a person can change their place of residence or renovate their residence to be more luxurious and aesthetic. Automatically, someone who has a luxurious house will be considered rich. Impacts of social mobility. Social mobility has both positive and negative impact. The positive impact of social mobility. The first, people will try to advance because there is an opportunity to move strata. The second, accelerate the rate of social change for the better. The negative impacts of social mobility is the first, class conflict. The second, conflict between a group. Finally, we are at the end of the presentation. The conclusion of this presentation is that social mobility can be achieved by anyone. Social mobility consists of two types, vertical social mobility and horizontal social mobility. Social mobility also has positive and negative impact. The negative impact of social mobility can lead to the conflict. Thank you everyone and goodbye.